Hello, my name is Grace Kale. In May of 2018, I traveled to Madrid, Spain to study a Jesuit education nonprofit as part of Georgetown's Education and Social Justice Fellowship. The research I conducted there contributed to a report on social justice, Jesuit identity, and volunteering at an education nonprofit in Spain. The focus nonprofit of this study is Entreculturas. I would first like to extend my sincerest thanks to the people who made this project possible. Sarah Singha in the Berkley Center, Jennifer Rosales in the Center for Social Justice, Entreculturas and everyone who works there in Madrid, Father Daniel Villanueva, and the sponsors of this initiative. I'm immensely grateful for their support and their insight. As far as methods for this project, I traveled to Madrid and spent 3 weeks there last summer and spent my time interacting with staff and volunteers at the organization. I conducted a series of in-depth, semi-structured interviews with a variety of people working at Entreculturas, which were used as data for this report. By way of introduction, Entreculturas is a Spanish nonprofit focused on education and social justice. It is part of a network of international Jesuit education centers called Fe y Alegría, and it also works with other Jesuit social organizations such as the Jesuit Refugee Service. Entreculturas believes in education as a tool for social justice, and it acts domestically and internationally to achieve its mission of quality education for all. The education work looks a little different in Spain and in the Global South, where the rest of the Fe y Alegría chapters are, in order to meet local needs, and Entreculturas engages in a wide variety of people and a variety of programs focused on social justice and education. The organization was originally founded in 1985 by Father Daniel Villanueva to support Fe y Alegría, which is an international nonprofit focused on bringing educational services to those living in extreme poverty in the Global South. As a Jesuit organization, Entreculturas has a goal of promoting social justice by means of education. Fe y Alegría is organized by chapters at the national level, like I mentioned. Most others are in the Global South. Entreculturas actually began as the Fe y Alegría Spain chapter, but changed its name quite a while ago. As the Spanish chapter of Fe y Alegría, Entreculturas participates in the Fe y Alegría Federation, which is the international network that connects these chapters to collaborate and share resources. Although Entreculturas is part of Fe y Alegría, it focuses on different work than the other chapters in the Global South. Chapters in Latin America and Africa are primarily focused on increasing access to and improving quality of basic schooling. However, because education is generally well developed and widely accessible in Spain, the core of Entreculturas' work is supporting the efforts of Fe y Alegría chapters in the Global South. This support is both financial and technical in nature. Additionally, Entreculturas focuses on social justice education and awareness for children and adults within Spain. The organization offers many different educational and volunteering opportunities for youth and adults with a focus on civic education and development of global citizens. Awareness campaigns surrounding specific social justice issues are frequently executed nationally and by individual regional offices of Entreculturas throughout Spain. Entreculturas and Fe y Alegría at large are Jesuit nonprofits. Jesuit identity and values are at the core of the Entreculturas mission. Providing quality education, caring for the marginalized, focusing on compassion and solidarity, and valuing reflection are all Jesuit concepts that are central to Entreculturas' work. Staff members at Entreculturas affirm that Entreculturas is proud of its Jesuit affiliation. However, its home country of Spain is increasingly secular, as the staff and volunteers during my research told me, which poses some challenges for the organization. A common theme that many staff members brought up during interviews was the balancing act between remaining open to people of all backgrounds and maintaining a strong Jesuit identity. This was apparent across many different departments, including international volunteering, formal education, and informal education. Entreculturas' Jesuit identity poses some challenges to the organization when it comes to, for example, relationships with prospective funders. Some organizations that Entreculturas solicits for donations and financing for programs have policies of only partnering with secular organizations. Of course, the staff members and volunteers at Entreculturas told me that they do have some methods of overcoming this challenge. A volunteer who works in institutional relations told me that she simply explains the goals of the project, such as paying teachers or building schools, and asks if the organization is inclined to support that effort. She explains that the challenge of working with a secular funder can oftentimes be overcome by focusing on the project's goals and not the differences between the two organizations. Of course, the Jesuit identity at Entreculturas has its benefits as well. Many staff members and volunteers cite the Jesuit affiliation as the main reason for joining Entreculturas initiatives or work. It's also a key motivation for them to continue working and being engaged with Entreculturas. In fact, the distinction as a Jesuit organization is the primary way that international volunteers come to choose to carry out an experience with Entreculturas. Additionally, their Jesuit affiliation helps Entreculturas establish its place in Spanish schools in order to carry out youth programming. One staff member explained that the Jesuits are very well known and highly credentialed in Spain for their quality education services, so Entreculturas affiliation helps them get a foot in the door with some credibility. While the Jesuit affiliation has its benefits and challenges, it positions Entreculturas to decide who is included in its programming and mission. While Jesuit, Catholic, and Christian themes are observed and emphasized throughout their work, all are welcome in Entreculturas' interventions and vision. By refusing to limit their programming and work with only Catholic or Jesuit-affiliated populations, the nonprofit allows the entire society to benefit from the interventions, and this sends the message that their beliefs of justice and compassion are universal beyond the confines of their religious affiliation. If we look at the list of some of Entreculturas' core beliefs, we can identify some Jesuit or Christian ideals, such as solidarity, compassion, popular education, dignity, and reflection. However, none of these concepts are inherently exclusive to Christianity. In fact, these are quite universal concepts, and Entreculturas expresses this fact of universality by making their mission and programming inclusive to people of all or no faiths. I observed this delicately balanced Jesuit identity in several key aspects at Entreculturas, the first being volunteer opportunities. A variety of programs are available for staff, volunteers, and the common public in Spain, all with different locations, durations, engagement styles, and goals. However, their volunteer activities all serve a common goal, which is Entreculturas' focus on creating change agents. A main component of all international volunteer programming is to stir change in the volunteer that will make a lasting impact on how they carry out their lives long after they return from their international voyage. One such program that is very popular at Entreculturas is Experiencia Sur, which means Southern Experience. This program is an opportunity for staff and volunteers who are already interacting with Entreculturas and serving them to spend approximately 1 month in a country affected by Entreculturas' work in the Global South. During this time, participants realize volunteer projects while learning about the communities and organizations receiving support and interacting with Entreculturas in the Global South. Participants of any faith may participate in Experiencia Sur. While it is not a Catholic pastoral program, trainings and volunteer activities focus on spirituality in a very open sense. A concerted effort is made to keep these discussions open to all beliefs. Therefore, universal topics such as gratitude, life, and energy are the main focus. However, Jesuit-specific guidance is available for members who are interested. About 90% of the projects that participants engage in this program are linked to education work. However, Entreculturas maintains that these projects are really not the true task at hand in the Experiencia Sur opportunity. Rather, the goal is to stir an emotional response in the participant by allowing them to see with their own eyes and become familiar with the end result of Entreculturas' work. Entreculturas believes that the participants do resume work with more motivation after their experience abroad. The other key international volunteer program at Entreculturas is the Pedro Arrupe Volunteers, referred to in Spanish as VOLPA. VOLPA is a longer duration international volunteer opportunity, about 1 to 2 years, designed primarily for young adults. Like Experiencia Sur, volunteers undergo a pre- and post-accompaniment by an Entreculturas staff member. However, the training is much longer and more intense for VOLPA as the actual experience is much longer and in depth. At least 9 months of preparation is spent working with Entreculturas staff on motivations, interpersonal skills, and relevant social justice themes to their abroad placement site. This training can take on a spiritual tone depending on the needs and desires of the individual volunteer, but it is generally secular as a means of inclusivity, similar to other programs. After this training, the volunteer spends 1 to 2 years in the Global South working for one of Entreculturas' partner organizations, such as Fe y Alegría or the Jesuit Refugee Service. During this time, the two main goals are to technically support their partner organization through volunteer work and to experience personal growth. The vast majority of volunteers engage in education work, just like Experiencia Sur, but some work in migration and social justice, other social justice areas. WOLPA is open to people of all faiths. Although many participants are Jesuit or Catholic, many more come from other backgrounds, and they're starting to see an increase of people from other faith backgrounds. Therefore, the program is not focused solely on Jesuit beliefs in order to be welcoming to the diverse group of volunteers. However, Jesuit thought is presented in several ways throughout the program. Ignatian spirituality serves as a guide for the program, and Jesuit beliefs are also drawn upon as motivations for volunteering before, during, and after the trip for Catholic identifying participants. Additionally, Jesuit reflection is a key component of the program. Another key element of Entreculturas' overall programming is youth intervention within Spain. These programs can be both formal and informal in nature, meaning that they're educational programs that take place within the structure of a school day and also as extracurricular offerings. For example, formal education work, housed under the Citizenship Department at Entreculturas, is a nationwide effort to introduce important themes of global citizenship, justice, and human rights into the classroom. Entreculturas works with Jesuit schools, public schools, and private schools with other religious affiliations. Therefore, they engage school faculty to educate them on social justice issues and support them in integrating these lessons into the curriculum without any explicitly Catholic or Jesuit pastoral messages. The goal is that the themes of global citizenship and social justice are incorporated into the students' holistic education experience. For the most part, Entreculturas' youth education work is not blatantly Jesuit or religious in nature. The fact that the organization runs programming in public and secular schools means that their work has to be more open in order to be accepted into these communities. Jesuit values guide the creation and implementation of programs and curriculum, but they do not teach any explicit religious themes. According to the director of informal education at the nonprofit, Jesuit identity plays a role in the program that she oversees in an indirect way. She says that while it is the base of their methodology and their curriculum, the program is not in any way explicitly pastoral. Entreculturas views their youth work in social justice and global citizenship as a way to promote their Jesuit values, although it is not outrightly religious. They may not use religious themes in these programs, but this is in an effort to appeal to more people and spread their mission and vision into a wider audience. Entreculturas does not limit social justice or global citizenship to being just Jesuit or Catholic values, but rather they use a more open framework to promote these ideals as universal human values, and this is very apparent in their youth work in schools. Finally, I just wanted to end with a couple photos of some of the wonderful people I interviewed and who were able to participate throughout the process of this research at Entreculturas. In conclusion, Entreculturas is an organization working for social justice and education using a variety of approaches, domestically and internationally. They leverage their Jesuit identity to maintain strong values while remaining open to all. By running inclusive interventions in programming, Entreculturas sends the message that their society at large, and not just Jesuits or Catholics, can and should benefit from their mission. Thank you.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Brittany, and today I'll be talking to you about the Berkley Center Education and Social Justice Fellowship that I carried out in Zambia with the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection. Now, to give a little bit of history on the Jesuits in Zambia, and specifically the JCTR, or Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, the Jesuits have a very long history in the country, first appearing in 1880. As you can read here on the left side of the screen, you can see the general trajectory of Jesuit presence and education in the country, but I'll specifically be talking about the history of JCTR, or my host organization. Now, JCTR was established 30 years ago in 1988 during a time of real economic crisis and turmoil within the country, and they really were pushing for debt cancellation on the basis of Christian values of economic equality and fairness and development within the country. Their goal, as is shown here, is to help regarding information for theological reflection on the prevailing economic situation and its effect on the poor. So what they're hoping to do is gather a faith-based perspective from government officials to help perpetuate more faith-based values in the country and equality for the citizens. So now today JCTR is a national organization in Zambia. As you can see, they have offices in different parts of the country, and they have staff ranging from priests to nuns to social workers and to government leaders, as well as different outreach techniques such as publications, radio shows, and community activist groups. And today they have a strong presence across different regions, really doing a diverse range of activities, ranging from political advocacy to economic policy advice to even local data collection and publications. So the research methodology for this fellowship conducted of a vertical case study that took place over the course of 3 weeks of field research across the country with JCTR. I was able to travel to a number of their different sites and conduct 14 interviews, 2 focus groups, 4 training observations, and administer a questionnaire, and all a part of the Education and Social Justice Fellowship on behalf of the Berkley Center and Center for Social Justice at Georgetown. So the core research themes that emerged from my research looking at the intersection of education and social justice with JCTR in Zambia were these 3. First, that core to JCTR's work is the pursuit of justice through the Catholic social teachings, which is a core aspect of Jesuit and Catholic tradition and education as it involves the community. Second is that JCTR aims to hold the Zambian government accountable to humanistic Christian values. Zambia in its constitution is a Christian country, not a Catholic one specifically, and yet JCTR is hoping to ensure that these values are present in the work that the government does and accountable to the population. And third, JCTR uses community-based education to sensitize and empower the Zambian population, especially regarding their rights. In this work, they are out in the field talking to laymen, laywomen, to individuals in the community about their rights and how they can be involved in this accountability process. Now, next I'm going to show some quotes that exemplify those 3 core themes that emerged from the interviews. First of all is the pursuit of social justice through the Catholic social teachings. As you see here, 2 staff members at JCTR, Jeffrey and George, are talking about how the work of JCTR is shaped by church social teachings, and the motivation is the fact that we are all made in the image of God, whether you're a government official, a JCTR staff member, or a local community member, and therefore you deserve a dignified life within Zambia. Second of all, as they link the CST to social justice as it ranges across the country, ensuring that you not only have economic rights, but social, political, and cultural ones as well. Next is looking at government accountability. You can see here we have a JCTR program officer saying that through the Faith and Justice program, they are looking at advocacy for good governance that supports a policy that upholds the legal frameworks and is forwarding the social justice mission. Second of all, you have a facilitator of an outreach program with local government officials that I was able to observe. And this facilitator was talking about the servant leadership that they were trying to instill in the government officials so that they act in a mirror image of Christ and how they are dealing with their constituents and with the local population. And here at the bottom, you can see a reflection by an actual politician who participated in that aforesaid facilitation process, and she said, when they advocate JCTR, we've seen government coming forth to provide these things. The government has accepted JCTR as a Christian organization, which is enshrined in the Constitution, and they're working hand in hand very well, talking about the close relationship between JCTR and the government that they're trying to hold accountable and push forward these rights together with. And finally, community-based education for empowerment. Now, JCTR carries out a wide range of education that goes beyond traditional classroom learning. They do radio shows, TV programs, they have stakeholder meetings, workshops, public forums. They even have road shows where they bring music and speakers and mobilize a local community around learning about their rights, sharing their experiences, and interacting with government officials they may not have the chance to talk and discuss with otherwise. And here you can can see two reflections from program participants discussing how these programs are eye-opening that made them know their rights, feel capable to advocate for other people's rights as well, and that they are now have heightened awareness and sensitization to what they hope and dream Zambia will look like. Now, looking forward, JCTR, like many other organizations, does face challenges. A lot of this comes down to funding. First of all, there's a general underfunding across the organization. As they expand into more regions within the country, it's difficult for transportation, staff costs, and things such as this to be having this effective programming. And a lot of this has come because of a shift from basket to program-based funding. What this means is JCTR used to receive funding in a large sum of money that they were able to allocate as they saw was best needed or fit on the ground. However, as funding has become specifically program driven, what happens is a lot of time the overhead costs are lost. This makes it very difficult to keep up staffing costs and to make sure that they're operating at full capacity instead of being understaffed. This is also leading to a shift in programming to be more donor driven instead of constituent driven. So this can affect actually the work of JCTR if this funding continues to be specifically focused on the program itself and not looking at what's needed locally. However, that being said, JCTR has incredible strengths that are being seen and that are continuing to grow in their 30 years and beyond. First of all, visibility. JCTR is known by local actors, state actors, and local communities around the country. They are visible, they are active. And second of all, they have community trust. The government believes that they are there representing the voice of the people, and the people are comfortable with them representing that position because they are in the field talking to individuals in their homes, on their farms, in their schools, in their workplaces, and in this respect, they have garnered community trust. In addition, being a faith-based organization has helped them do so in that they are able to connect over these basic fundamental values that they share and represent for the Zambian population. Next is they have a strong reputation across the country of being accountable and nonpartisan. This gives them better credibility when working with the government as well as local constituents and as well with donors because there have not ever been any mishaps in terms of transparency or funding that have happened JCTR. They are extremely accountable on this front. And finally, evidence-based work. JCTR doesn't just speak, they also provide backing and evidence that they go and collect in the field from these communities so they can put forward policy recommendations that are backed not only by local voices, but local data. And in this respect, JCTR truly is an incredible organization with potential to really help shape the future and development of Zambia. In that, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to have participated in the Education and Social Justice Fellowship and to have learned from this incredible community, including my host family, which you see in this picture here. So thank you very much, and thank you for this opportunity.
Hi, my name is Maisha Galiba. I am a graduating senior in Georgetown College, majoring in government and minoring in justice and peace studies. Last summer, in the summer of 2018, I was able to serve as an Education and Social Justice Fellow through the Berkley Center for Religion, Peace, and World Affairs and the Center for Social Justice at Georgetown University. Through this grant and fellowship, I was able to go to Rome, Italy, where I created a vertical case study on the Center for Child Protection, which is an organization under the Pontifical Gregorian University that works to prevent the sexual assault and abuse of minors, both in the Catholic Church and otherwise. So the center was first established in Munich and Ulm by Father Hans Zollner because Pope Benedict, who was the Pope at the time, his former archdiocese was in Munich. So he wanted this center which would address a problem in the church that has been coming up in recent years, and it's been a problem for a long time, but recently media coverage of the sexual assault and abuse within the church has really increased. So he wanted it to be within his former archdiocese in Munich. And within the 3-year first pilot program, they developed an e-learning curriculum, which was based on a separate e-learning curriculum developed by a state university. That curriculum was secular, so this one added units of canon law and abuse and other forms of theology. And within 18 months of the pilot program running, it was already decided that this would continue running, so the CCP would continue on. But as the 3 years wrapped up, it became apparent that the location of the CCC needed to change and perhaps move to Rome so that it could be, first, close to the Pontifical Gregorian University, second, close to the Vatican, and third, be in a centralized place where all bishops have to come through every few years. And in this way, there was kind of like a hub that people could come and get educated, become agents of change, and then move outward. And so that's why in early 2015, the CCP, after the completion of the 3-year pilot phase, moved to Rome and built a small team a few blocks away from the main Gregorian University building. So the CCP has different aspects to it. One of the main things that they have been working on is the e-learning program. So Father Hans Zollner, with this e-learning program, had this vision that anywhere that internet can be reached, this program can be reached, because he wanted something that was widespread, that was accessible to people from different parts of the world, from different cultures, that was integrative, and that would be a kind of all-inclusive spot to learn about this topic and then to potentially teach others. So the e-learning program is modulated, and again, it can be accessed from anywhere, and then often within regions there are people on the ground that can kind of help integrate the curriculum. And so the e-learning program is continued to be developed within the CCP. It's changing every year, and it's also being translated into multiple languages, including Spanish and Italian and German and English. Aside from that, the CCP in Rome is actually a host for 2 physical degree programs. We have the diploma program and the licentiate program. So the diploma program has been in place for a few cohorts already. And it's essentially a shorter program that is supposed to give the students kind of a certificate in safeguarding of children. And it's supposed to teach them the general, the general happenings, as well as different theological tools to use so that they could go and bring it back to their archdiocese or their churches or their universities and the like. But now that the CCP has been developing for a few years, they've created a second program called the licentiate program, which is a full master's degree program. So this is like a full graduate degree with a cohort of students. And the cohorts are usually kept small because the CCP believes that with a small cohort, it's important to have communication, collaboration, and interaction, and that might be lost with the larger cohort. So the curriculum has mostly been developed by Dr. Katharina Fuchs, who's a psychologist in the Pontifical Gregorian University, and Dr. Caroline de Messier, who was the director of the CCP at the time of this study in summer 2018. So Dr. Fuchs focuses more on the psychology aspect of the curriculum, and Dr. de Messier focused more on the theological aspects of the curriculum, but they made sure that both parts were well integrated. And because the main thing about this whole program is the formation of people. And in order for proper formation, the pedagogical method of, having not just one professor or one instructor coming in and teaching one specific field and one instructor teaching one other specific field. It's an integrated curriculum that focuses on topics that brings everything together, because it's also important to recognize that the students coming in are from different disciplines, and from different ages as well. So they're not all coming in from a baseline of knowledge. There are people that are lawyers, there are people that are professors, there are people that are sisters and fathers, and they, in a way, the development of the curriculum is to make sure that everyone can get get what they need out of this program and can specialize in their areas as well as they wish to. So the CCP also partners with different archdioceses across the world, but also with different people who are concurrently, completing some graduate work at the Gregorian. So I was able to talk to Sister Rejoice Horofia, who is from Ghana, and she is completing her PhD right now at the Gregorian. And her work is quite interesting because it shows the breadth of the CCP's, knowledge base. It's not just meant for the assault and abuse of minors within the Catholic Church, but safeguarding of children in general. So this can include, for Sister Rejoice, her area of expertise is familial violence and incest. So basically she says that the church affects the family and the family affects the church. Right? And she has noticed and seen that it's not talked about the familial abuse that children can go through, and that affects how the children approach church, and the church's lack of talking about these issues affects how the children approach the family, and the taboo culture around that. So that's her area of work. I was also able to talk to Father Jose Melacunel, and he is from Nicaragua. And he actually works with gang violence within Nicaragua because gangs generally have a lot of social and political influence. And Father Melacunel is trying to see the connection between between abuse and violence towards minors and other types of violence. So both connecting sexual assault and abuse in the Catholic Church and studying that, but also studying types of violence like gang violence. So these are just some of the partners that the CCP works with, and they again have many others that kind of deal with different topic areas in their own formation and education. So the team at the CCP at the time of 2018 is small but mighty. So we had Carolina Garcia, who was the secretary at the time when I was completing the study, and Miss Garcia was more than just, I think, a secretary. I think it's important to recognize that she was also someone who worked with a lot of the translation and the translation of documents. And since the staff is so small, everyone works really close together, which I think is really important to note, because they are trying to do a big job with a few people. And one of the main players within the CCP is Dr. Alessandra Campo, and she's a network coordinator, and she works to coordinate and uphold a partner network globally. And this includes institutions from dioceses to universities and beyond, and who wish to, and these institutions wish to put in place a blended course for the prevention of child sexual abuse. So she has a very important role in developing and maintaining these partnerships so that the CCP isn't just in Rome or within this office or within the Gregorian, but also outside of it, because the aim is that each time a new collaboration is set up with a partner, that entity will then develop a program or multiple programs that is specifically tailored to their target group and needs. And so this way it is also taking in the idea of cultural context and what works in some places and what doesn't work in other places, because one standard, very structured curriculum is not going to be applicable to every place. And so she is the contact person, so she receives requests from those that are interested in promoting or activating a program through the CCP, academic or non-academic, for the prevention of sexual assault and abuse of minors. And I think that her job is, again, to reiterate, one of the most important, because the whole point of the CCP is to create these agents of change, and to not only that, but by creating agents of change, to break taboos in various cultures that adjust for social and cultural contexts. Because it's a big taboo within the Catholic Church to talk about this, and I mean, it's been coming up in the conversation a lot more because it's been forced to come up in the conversation a lot more as more and more atrocities throughout decades have been discovered of what has happened to children in conjunction with the church. So the CCP is a way for, and it is connected to the Vatican, it's connected to the Gregorian, it's a way for them to very directly address and work towards this problem and figure out how to create a victim-centric model or survivor-centric model. And so that's something that is, I think, particularly important. So again, going back to the kind of the degree programs to discuss kind of some of the takeaways from that, I talked to Ms. Holin Zhong, and she's a psychology professor in Taiwan she lives in Maryland during her off seasons, and she through her university was sent to complete this diploma program, which is about 6 months, and she completed it from September 2017 to February 2018. And she loves Italy, but she also has a general urge to protect children, so she thought that this was the way to do it. So her cohort consisted of 18 students and was a collaborative environment run by multiple instructors from different academic backgrounds. And then she really genuinely wanted to be educated, but that also she didn't realize how difficult the material was, and not in terms of comprehension, but in terms of this is very heavy and psychologically traumatic material. So Ms. Zhang talked about a lot of the films that they had to watch, which was very, which forced her to confront a lot of violent concepts and language that she hadn't, thought about. And in her eyes, people don't always always know the depth of the issues. And it's not because they don't care, but it's because they haven't had the opportunity to learn. So this is a gap that the CCP is filling. And then and now again towards the licentiate program, the first cohort began in October 2018. So at the time of my study, the final, developments were being placed on the licentiate program. So I do not personally have any qualitative data on how it went, but I knew that beforehand it was going to launch in October 2018, and it was supposed to be an interdisciplinary program tackling the topic from different academic disciplines, combining both theoretical knowledge with practical skills. So during the first semester, it would be similar to, and it's a 4-semester program, so it's a 2 years master's program. During the first semester, it would be similar to the diploma program in that they would be still working and learning outside the diploma students, and then they would go on to specialize and learn deeper into their master's degree. Another important part of the CCP's work is the coordination of conferences, which is a huge part of their outreach. So one of the main conferences that kind of started it all was the Symposium Towards Healing and Renewal. So it was around mid-2010 when Father Zollner assumed his position as provost of the Pontifical Gregorian University and the Dean of the Institute of Psychology. He was asked to organize an international conference in Rome. And so this conference aimed to help the church step up to the task of addressing and taking action against clerical assault and abuse. While the initial parameters were vague, through the steering committee that Father Zollner headed, the idea of the conference was developed until February 2012 when it was finally held. And so this was kind of Father Zollner said that the development of the idea for the symposium was inviting representatives from all bishop conferences, which there are about, I think, 112 worldwide, and almost all of them sent representatives. And so that was kind of the start of the CCP creating these conferences. And so from what I had observed in the summer of 2018, their rapid growth does not seem to be slowing down. The starts with the e-learning program, which is widely available again with anywhere that can get internet access, which I think is quite remarkable, but also the development of in-classroom educational tools that has been further developed into more official master's degree programs, so that people can actually devote a part of their life's work to safeguarding minors, which is incredibly important. And going forward, Father Zollner kind of identified 3 main areas for reform and improvement that the CCC will focus on. So first, working on incorporating a more pedagogical and didactic teaching method to the CCP's in-person and e-learning programs. Also producing more original research conducted by CCP members and partners, and understanding the implications of engagement in a digital world. So kind of seeing how I guess dangerous communication within the internet can be, and also addressing that technology is changing and that the education surrounding safeguarding with minors needs to change with it in order to take into account the risks that have been created. And so basically the general question that Father Zollner, creating this and going forward, he wants to ask is, how do we come from the head to the heart to the hands? So instead of sitting with knowledge and protocol, there's a necessity to implement these tools into real action. And in that way, that it solidifies this learner-centric model that can then create people that can go and directly affect change in different corners of the world. And so, like, as a model for Jesuit education, the CCP shows a deep commitment to its mission of safeguarding minors. It doesn't shy away from recognizing the distressing existence of threats to children, especially in the sphere of sexual assault and abuse within the Catholic Church. So again, this is a very taboo topic. It has been, the CCP is working on an uphill battle trying to bring this into the conversation, and not just have a conversation and dialogue about it, but actually do things to change this culture. And that's not easy. By attempting to overcome the taboo culture around the topic, the CCP has created links across the globe through education and advocacy, and they've maintained the efficacy of open dialogue within the church and beyond. Because this can't work separate from the church, this has to work with the church, right? The CCP, I guess, seeks to combat the wrongs that have been done and that have the potential to be done. So again, it's not just about ameliorating what has happened, but mainly preventing what could happen by learning the lessons of what has happened. And this can be done through a pedagogical interdisciplinary view of education. I thoroughly enjoyed my time working at the CCP, especially working with Dr. Campo and coordinating and talking to the different partners that were in Rome at the time and also abroad. I did conduct a few Zoom and Skype interviews, and I think that through this process I learned a lot about what needs to be done for this type of humanitarian crisis, and also the sensitivities of the nature around this topic, especially with something as powerful as the entity of the Catholic Church. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the CCP continues to do, and I think that the work they do is extremely important. I hope that they continue to develop, and also I hope that they get more resources, because I think the team needs to be bigger. I think this work is so important that this needs to have more of a priority within the Gregorian or the church or any benefactors. So yeah, I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity to work as a Education and Social Justice Fellow in the summer of 2018. And thank you for coming to this presentation.